going to keep this at a steady pace. If it is too slow for you, please make sure that you're using the YouTube feature to increase the speed. If it's too fast for you, once again, use the YouTube feature to slow it down. There's a lot of information when we're talking about containers. There's a lot of information in all of these labs. So we try to give you everything with as much detail as possible within a certain amount of time. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to be interacting with containers. Remember, a container is just a bundled resource. It's a bundled application with all of its dependencies. What the heck does that mean? Well, if you have 1,000 servers and you want to turn those thousands of servers into some type of web application, maybe you want to turn it into Instagram web servers. Well, in order to turn those thousands of servers into Instagram web servers, you have to log into them individually. You have to download a web application. You have to download all of the scripts that you need. You have to download all of the files. You need to download all of the dependencies. That's going to take you a very long time. Then opposed to just using a container. A container, you can one time download all of the scripts, all of the files, all of the binaries, all of the dependencies you need, bundle it inside of a container, and then deploy that container to all of your servers, to the thousands of servers that you have. And after you deploy it, those thousands of servers will automatically be running your web application. No need for you to log into them individually to set it up. You just have to set up the container and then deploy the container to your endpoints. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. In this lab, we're going to be using Docker. Docker is a very popular container application. We're going to get familiar with it. In the first few instructions, we won't be using Docker. What we'll be doing is just getting familiar with our local system. So let's go ahead and log in. This is going to log us in as administrator. Next step, what we're going to do is make sure Docker is running, okay? Docker needs to be running in order for us to be using it. So we can quickly just come here, open up the services application so we can look at all of our services. Once this is open, we just want to see if the Docker engine is running. This is the program that Docker is using to function. All right. Here within services, you're going to get a list of all of your programs and services. Okay. Everything that may or may not be running. Once again, we're just looking for Docker. Okay. And we're going to scroll down a bit. And we should see Docker engine. It is running. The Docker engine is running. Cool. Now we want to open up PowerShell to get our IP address, host name, and Windows version. There are a few ways you can open up PowerShell. You can use these instructions. I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to right click the start button, and then I'm going to select Windows PowerShell admin. This is going to ask me if I want to open it up as admin. Yes, I do. We're going to run these commands. They want us to get the IP address with ipconfig. They want us to get our Win version, and they want us to get the host name. So we're going to run different commands to get information about our system. ipconfig. This is going to give us information about our IP configuration. This is what we're looking at right now. The IPv4 address is what we care about, this guy. 10.1.16.13. Next, I'll come back to Win version last. Let's grab our host name. Just use the host name command to get the host name of your operating system. All right, and there we go. The host name of the operating system is MS10. Now the Win version, this is going to give us the version of Windows that we are using. The version is a 2019 server. Well, it's a 2019 Windows server and the version is 1809. Cool. So not too much with Docker just yet, okay? Right now we're just getting our IP address, which we'll be using later. We're getting our host name, which we'll be using later. And the Win version, we may or may not be using that later. Now let's go interact with Docker on the next tab. So first we're going to use this Docker images command. Docker images is going to show us the images we have from Docker. The name of the program that we're using right now is Docker. If you follow it with images, Docker images is going to show you the image files that you currently have. Right now we have this image file called Nano Server. I'm not saying the entire name, but just Nano Server. You're probably asking, what is an image? Well, an image is this is what the container is using. Okay, the image is the file the container is using. Remember we talked about deploying web applications to thousands of servers using a container. Well, if we're deploying an Instagram web application or a Facebook web application within a container, we need the image for Facebook. We need the image for that Instagram. For our security professionals, maybe you want to deploy a Nessus container. That's a vulnerability scanner. Maybe you want to deploy a Splunk container. That's a SIM tool. You need the image for the container to run. So if we wanted to deploy a Nano server, here is the image for that Nano server to run. So we have the image. Now we can create the container. The container uses the image. The image is the bundled files and dependencies, the scripts, the binaries that we were talking about. Now that we have the image, let's create the container. We're going to use this command here to create the container. Once again, we're using the Docker command. We're going to use it to create this time. Create what? A container. We're going to name it my first container. Then we have to tell the container which image to use. This image right here. All right, we want to use this image with this tag 1809. So if we hit enter, this is going to try to create our container. Right? This is the ID of the container here. If we want to see the container, we're going to use the Docker PS space -A. Don't forget the space. Just use this shortcut. Hit enter. You will see that our container was created. This is the ID right here of the container. Here's the image that our container is using. And we can see that it was created. Here is the name of the container. Cool. Now let's start the container, right? We have the container created. We have the image here that the container knows what to use. Let's start the container with this command on step 4. Step 4 is going to use the Docker command once again to start our container named my first container. Now my first container has been started. We're going to use the same Docker PS-A command. And you can see that our container is running right now. Same thing. We're just looking at the same thing, right? Here's the ID of our container. Here's the image that the container is using. The container was created 58 seconds ago. Here's the name of our container called my first container. All right, let's go to step 6. We're going to create a new container. Okay, and this time we're going to create a container called, clear my screen. All right, so we're up here. This time we're going to create a container called test container. The test container is going to use the same image, the Nano server image. Let's hit enter. All right, let me go back for a second. I'm sorry. Let me explain what this command is doing. So we're going to use Docker. This time we're creating a new container using the same image. We're using Docker to create this container called test container. The test container is going to use this image. But instead of just creating the container this time, we're going to run it and then log into the container. We're going to run it and then interact with the container, right? That's what this is here for. So when I hit enter, it's going to run this container and oops, looks like I already created it. Sorry, I should have backed out that one time. So let me do this. Container. Docker run it name. I'm gonna rename this to test container 2. All right, so you can do the same thing if you exited it. When I did, just rename it. Here, I'll show you again. I'm gonna rename my container to test container 3 now. If you did exit with me, just so you don't run into any issues, we're just gonna rename the container because we can't use the same name that we created. Right, there's another way that we can log into it, but I don't want to confuse anybody. So let's go back and log in. Remember, I just exited the first time so I could show you what this command was doing. It's running the container, and at the same time, we're going to interact with this container, test container 3, right? Using this image. So we're going to log in to that container. And now we are logged into that container. How can we confirm this? Well, if we do version, right? Let's get the version of this container. The version here is 10.0.17763.4851. That's not the same version as our host, right? Because our host was 2019 version 1809. Why are we looking at this? So you can see that we're inside of the container now. We're not on our local system. We logged into the container. The container is a bundled resource. We can log into it. We logged into the Nano server container that we call test container, right? The Nano server image that we call test container. All right, so look at this Windows, the last 4 digits. This is going to be 4851. Let's run ipconfig. ipconfig, we have a new IP address because we're logged into the container now. We're not using our local system. This is the IP address of our container. The default gateway, 172.18.0.1. The host name of the container, oh, good thing we don't have to try to type that over here. This is the host name of the container. Why are we doing this? I'm going to come back over here so you can see that it's different from the actual local system that we use to create the container. We created test container and now we're logged into test container. How did we log into the container? With this IT switch right here, -IT. It allows us to interact with the container and log into it. All right, so we got the host name. If we do netstat, they want to know what is listening on 5985. Is 5985 listening? We have this. I don't see 5985. I'm looking for the port. So anything after the colon is the port number. We see port 135, port 49152, 153, 154, 155, We don't see port 5985 listening, so I'm going to put no. All right, and let's go ahead and ping the gateway. Right, this is the gateway for our container. Let's ping our host virtual machine. Right, the machine that we created the container on. Let's see if the container can reach outside to the host. Reach outside to the system we used to create the container, and it can. Right, it can. We can ping MS10. MS10 is what we use to create the container. We're inside of the container pinging MS10. We're allowed to do that, right? And the host may or may not be allowed, MS10 may or may not be allowed to ping inside the container. All right, let's get out of the container. We're gonna exit. If I type exit, I am back here now, right? I can host name MS10. I'm back on MS10. I'm not in the container anymore. If I do IP config, you can see I'm back on MS10. You can see the host name. You can see my IP address. All right, let's go to the next section. So I'm going to clear my screen. To clear your screen, you can type clear, hit enter, that will clear your screen. All right, so let's go ahead and run these commands. We want to see the containers that we created. We're going to see a few containers because we created test container 2, test container 3. You can see that they were created 7 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. So step 3 looks like step 1. So I'm gonna just do this again for the sake of it. You're gonna see the same thing again, right? So let's go to step 4. So what are we gonna do here? We're going to enter, right? I didn't want to show you this beforehand. We went too early. So now the test container we created the first time, we can just log into it, right? We're going to use Docker exec. This is for execute. We're going to execute an interactive session with the test container we created, right? We want a command prompt. So if I hit enter, this should log me into the test container. But hey, the test container is not running right now. All right, so let's see if we log into test container 2. Test container 2 is not running. You don't have to follow me just yet. Test container 3 is not running. So what I'm gonna do is try to start those containers. Let me see, let me grab that command really quick. Now let's make sure that it's, all right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do Docker run test container. Whoops. That command is supposed to be Docker start. I'm sorry, Docker start. And then the name of the container. Right? So if your container is not running, this is why I love these labs, because we don't hide the errors. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to mess up. If your container is not running, just do Docker start container. And now let's try to log into that container again with step number 4. Hopefully this works. So it worked. Sweet. Now we're logged in. What did we do? We just used the Docker exec to execute an interactive test container. We wanted a command prompt with this test container. Our container wasn't running, so what did we have to do? We had to start it. We used the Docker start test container to have it running. All right, so let's keep going with the instructions. We want to get the username, so we're going to echo username. Echo is going to show us the name of the user that we're currently using. It's called container. Make sure you spell it right, container user. Now we're going to use the net user command. Net user is going to show us all the users on this container. We see the administrator user, there's a default account user, there's a guest account user, and then there's this utility account user. 7 says, is the local administrator account on the container enabled? Well, to figure that out, we have to use net user and the name of the account we want to get information about. So let's use this shortcut, net user administrator. And we can see that this account is active. There's a lot of information about this account. I want you to play around with net user on different accounts. So net user guest, net user default account, net user this utility account. And look at the information you get. Just pause the video and play around with the command. Is the local administrator account active? Yes, it is. Why? Because it says it right here. Account active, yes. All right, next command, net local group. Hit enter. Net local group shows us the different groups on this container. We have an administrators group, a backup group, a device owners group, a guest group. Is there a Docker administrators group here? No, there's no Docker administrators group. Feel free to look around. Now we're gonna exit this container and go back. I'm gonna type exit. I cleared my screen. We're gonna exit this container and go back to MS10. You can see we are on MS10 if I type hostname. Hostname shows us MS10. All right, so next we're going to, we're gonna log in the same test container, but this time we're gonna log in with a specific username. So we're gonna use Docker, execute an interactive session with this user account called Container Administrator. We want to use this user account to log into this container called Test Container, and it's gonna give us a command prompt. So if I hit enter, we are now logged in as that user, okay? If I hit echo username, right? So what this is doing, echo is gonna print something out to your screen. So right now it's printing out the username. This is a variable, right? The percent sign at the beginning and end is letting you know that this username is a variable. So whoever you're logged in as, we're gonna echo their username to the screen. All right, so we're gonna create a test user. Let's create a test user with this command, net user. The name of the user you want to create is called test user, and their password 123. We're gonna add this test user with this password, it's a bad password by the way, to this system. Hit enter. That user has been created. If we want to get information on the test user, same thing we did with the administrator user, we do net user test user. Net user, test user. This doesn't have to be capital. You can capitalize it if you want to. It doesn't matter. This is going to give us information on the test user we just created. We're going to add the test user to a group, okay? We're going to do net local group power users. We want to add the test user to this local group called power users. Hit enter, complete. Let's look at some more information. Let's do it again. Net user test user for our test user. And you can see that they've been added to this power user at the bottom, right? Look at their local group. We just added them to the power user. If you compare this with the first time we did net test user, you don't see them inside of the power users group. They're just inside of the users group. But after we added them with net local group power users, we added them to the power users. Who did we add? The test user. We did what? We added the test user to the power users group, right? And we can confirm that right here. We can see that now they're added to the power users group. Cool. All right, now let's change the admin's password. We're going to do net user. We want the administrative user. We're going to change their password to this. And yes, we want to change their password. We hit enter. That's a bad password, by the way. And we are good. All right, sweet. We're going to go. Don't exit this. Let's just go to the next tab. All right, so now we're going to create some directories. So let's type dir. Dir is going to show us all the directories. If you don't know what a directory is, it's a folder inside of a folder, right? Files and folders inside of a folder. We see if you type dir, you can see the directories that are currently under this C drive. You see the license.txt file, you see the users directory, you see the Windows directory. How do I know this is a folder? How do I know this is a directory? Because it says dir right there. How do I know Windows is a folder or a directory? It says dir right there. This is not a directory. How do I know? Because it doesn't say dir, right? On Windows, it would say dir for directory. This is a file. What type of file? A txt file. How do I know? Because it's right there. I'm not guessing. Sweet. So let's go ahead and create a new folder. Right, we're going to create a new folder called my folder, right? MD, my folder. This MD is going to create a new folder. Make directory is going to create a new folder. MD for make directory. If we do dir again, you will see this new directory called my folder. How do we know it's a directory? Because of here, right? And we created it. So let's cd into my folder. We will change directories into my folder. The cd command is gonna switch you into this my folder. Now we're gonna create a file called test.txt. So we're going to echo this string, right? Everything inside of the quotes. This is some text for my test file, period. We're going to echo this into test.txt. We're going to output, that's why you see this greater than sign. We're going to output that into test.txt. If we run dir again, you will see test.txt. If we run type test.txt, the type command will show you the contents of test.txt. The type command shows you what is inside of test.txt. This is some text from my test file. Cool. Now let's go ahead and exit this container now. All we did just now was create a folder called my folder. We added a file inside of my folder called test.txt, and we confirmed what was inside of test.txt with the type command. All of this was done inside of a container. All of it. So let's exit this container. You exit the container with the exit command. If we type dir again, right, there's a lot, right? A lot of stuff on the actual MS-10 host. A lot. Right? There's a lot here. Okay, this is not the container that we're logged into. We are logged into our host now, MS-10. We exited out of the container. All right, now let's re-enter our test container. We're gonna go back into the test container. Docker execute this interactive session with the test container. Give us a command prompt. Is the directory that we created still here? Yes, it's right there, my folder. It is still there. It doesn't go away just because we left the container. It's still there. All right, so let's exit the container and let's stop it. We're gonna do docker stop test container. The container has been stopped, or it is stopping. That will take a while, a couple of seconds. The container is stopped. All right. Docker ps-a. You can see that we don't have any containers running. They were all exited. All right, exited. This test container right here was just exited 7 seconds ago. We just stopped it 7 seconds ago. All right, sweet. Let me know if you have any questions, y'all. Let's go ahead to the comprehensive questions so we can wrap this up. What command is used to stop a container session? Too easy. Docker stop my container. Sweet. Next question. How do you build a new image based on the Docker file in the current directory? All right, this might be a little tricky. If we want to build a new container, it's not going to be Docker images because Docker images list out all of the images that we have in Docker. Docker ps-a is going to show us all of our containers. It's between these two. I'm going to go, this says Docker build my image dummy. I'm going to go with this guy. That's wrong because this is trying to run an interactive session with my container. This is not actually building the Docker file, right? So this right here is running Docker. It's using Docker to run an interactive session with a container called my container, right? And it's using this my dummy image to run this container. Right, so what this question is looking for, how to build a new image. So this is going to be this guy. This guy is saying, hey Docker, build an image called my dummy image. I want you to build this image. I want you to tag this image, build it. And you see this dot, this period here? It's going to build it in the current directory. All right, so I was wrong. This is the correct answer right here. All right, we're gonna build this image called my dummy image in the current directory. That's what this dot is here for. All right, sweet. It's okay to be wrong, y'all. It's nothing wrong with being wrong. Haha. Next one. What command lists all the Docker images? Too easy. Docker images. This is gonna give us all the images. PS shows you the containers. Stop stops the container. Start starts the container. Oh man, it's a lot more questions. All right, how do you start a container session for my container? This is going to stop the container. This is going to run a container called my container with this my dummy image. This is going to start the container, right? Docker start my container will start my container. And this is going to try to execute an interactive session. But the answer here is Docker start my container. 5, how do you specify a local image for building a container? All right, so we have include the tag listed by the Docker images, include the tag latest after the image name, include the tag local after the image name, include the full path. So I got that wrong. How do you specify a local image for building a container? Okay. Sorry. I got it wrong twice. Oh no, we want the tag. Sorry, we want the tag listed by the Docker images command. Let me show you what that means real quick. So if I come back over here, CLS, clear that out, Docker images. We want this tag. Okay, we want this tag right here. Right, this is why it's good to slow down and read the question. So it says, how do you specify a local image for building a container? Include the tag listed by the Docker images command. When you run Docker images, it shows you local images, right? Local images. We're looking for the local image for building a container. Docker images command shows you local images. This image is local to us. If we want to specify that local image, we need to use the tag listed by this local image. That's why if we come all the way back to this guy, when we created our image, when we created our container, you see how we have the tag at the end of it, 1809? Is because we wanted to use this local image. You have to specify the tag of the local image. No, not yet. All right, let me go back one. So that's why this is the answer. Include the tag listed by the Docker images command. Why the Docker images command? Because it only shows you local images. Why do we want to include this tag? Because that's how we specify that local image for building a container. All right, y'all. Hopefully you enjoyed this lab. Please smash the like button if you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Your classes, if you're a professor, your classes are definitely more than welcome to use this. If you're a student in class, you're definitely more than welcome to use this. Share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues. Thank you so much for sticking along throughout this entire video. I know it was a bit lengthy. Please use the YouTube features to either slow down the video or speed up the video according to your liking. Other than that, please stay safe, hold on to your loved ones, make sure you give them fat kisses, and don't forget to ask questions. We love you all. Thank you so much.